So my overall thoughts of Rings of the Power. Rings of Power, or Rings of Poop, whatever you want to call it, is that it's just not interesting. There is so many other things out there that are interesting, and it seems like this is subpar. For something that should be Lord of the Rings, it doesn't do it any justice. So, we already know that it's completely devoid of any lore from Tolkien's work. It's nonsensical with a lot of things that go on, and it doesn't intrigue me. Like, there's no reason to go into this show liking it in any way, shape or form. It just doesn't seem valid. So I don't really want to kind of review any of these episodes because it all dilutes into the matter of fact that this is devoid of any relevance or any care to the lore, any care to the story. They could have done an amazing story, but they've butchered it by butchering Galadriel, by butchering Elrond, by butchering even the non-canon characters. They kind of have a hard time in selling. The hobbits are evil, the elves are stupid, the dwarves are also stupid, and the humans are inept, and it just doesn't fit with Middle-earth and any of the world building what Tolkien gave us. And even what Peter Jackson gave us. Peter Jackson gave us a lot of the world and the world building to kind of tell the story. And it felt lived in with his from the movies, where this just feels just generic fantasy with a really lackluster story. Like, people can say that Peter Jackson changed things with the Lord of the Rings trilogies, and lesser so with and more so, with the Hobbit trilogy. But at least at the heart of it, the story was the same. The Hobbit was about Bilbo Baggins going to the Lonely Mountain with these dwarves and finding the ring and whatnot, and Smaug and whatever. The story was there. Lord of the Rings, the story's there. Frodo's got the ring and he's taking it to Mount Doom. And all these things that happen within the story happen. With the Rings of Power, nothing that they've done happens. Nothing that they've shown happens because it doesn't make sense for it to happen. It's all fictional, but it's fictional from the fiction. And that's what makes it even stupider, because they're basically making their own story and sticking Lord of the Rings namesakes into it. And that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous and nonsensical, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, who thinks up of a story and then goes, you know what, the only way I could probably sell this is by sticking a well-loved IP on top of it. That's what this show seems to be. It seems to be their story that they're trying to push, but because they don't think that they don't have a faith in their own story, so they have to use Tolkien's work, use Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth and whatnot to help the story along. Just why? In what world would you create a story that has nothing to do with anything of that time period? Like, Galadriel is the main protagonist. Why is that? Because they want a female lead. They want to be progressive, so they want a female lead. When realistically, the lead should be Elrond. He's been there for the longest time. He's goes through so much within that time period, within the first age and the second age, and even so the third age with his daughter and Aragorn and stuff. He is integral part to the story, integral part to not just the Rings of Power, but the war against Sauron. He's integral to it. But he just comes off as a B-line character, and he doesn't come off as Elrond, who's this formidable, wise, and intellectual character that they've just butchered and turned into this wimpy, diplomat, clever person. And it's like, that's not him. That's not him. He's much more than what they're giving us. And it's really lackluster. They had the chance to create like characters like Gil-galad and Celebrimbor, and they just turn them into these kind of characters that are not, again, known to the lore. Like, Gil-galad is a king, and he's a proud king who knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He wouldn't send Galadriel off, because again, Galadriel doesn't have that much importance in the story. He knows what he's doing. Everything he knows. He is top man. He knows what he's doing. In many cases. You have Celebrimbor, who looks too old to be Celebrimbor. He's younger than Galadriel, and his story is much more nuanced and much more important, especially with a series called Rings of Power. He should be him. It should be about his story. It should be about him and his befriending of the dwarves, his befriending of Anatar, who's Sauron in disguise, the whole story with his family and, you know, what he wants to do and why he wants to create these rings and, you know, the help that he gets. And then after that we have that story where he's been deceived and Sauron has gone off and built his own army. He's going to come back and take Eregion. And if we have this tragedy, that's tragic story that can lead on to, you know, the War of the Last Alliance, where he tries to defend his homeland. He doesn't. He gets taken over and he gets captured and tortured, and he never reveals what happened to the rings that he made for the elves. He never tells them. And even though he probably gets tortured for hundreds of years, he doesn't give up that information, and he gets killed for that information. And it's such a compelling story because we see the sorrow. We will learn to care for this character as fans of the work, as well as like just normal people just coming into it. It's like, what's this about? And then you have this guy who they build up and they have this sorrowful moment compared to whatever this is, which has no context to the show. And it's like, why have we got this random show going off, which no sense. Makes no sense. So yeah, so I'm done with Rings of Power. I don't know why I would be reviewing these episodes, and I reviewed episode 1 and 2, and they just didn't interest me. Nothing interests me about this show. I will comment on it, but generally it's just silly. It's just silly, and I will call out any of the silliness that we have as it comes up. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, leave a like, and if you want, comment down below, and catch you on the next one.